Hello, beasty. This week's fiery full super moon in Aries has the potential to free us from old, outdated narratives. By redefining past traumas, embracing the beauty we have discovered along the way, befriending any change, no matter how unexpected, we can not only tame our current savage collective Pluto and Capricorn tale, but ultimately put old stories to bed. I had my first date with my husband in 2008, the 28th of October to be exact. By the 31st, I knew our relationship was more than the casual fling we had both hoped for. Going against the obvious, scared, working through limits, expectations, assumptions, what I believed I'd wanted, deserved, needed even. Totally unprepared. 16 years later, we've been through some shit that I wouldn't change. Bittersweet in the wisdom gained, as I find us once again embracing yet another chapter in what feels like a tale as old as our relationship itself. Because it is. Ever just the same, yet somehow full of daily surprises. Regardless, I have never been more sure of our connection, despite or maybe because of everything we've experienced. Dating as far back as Pluto's first movement into Capricorn all those years ago, we have since faced bankruptcy when the stock markets crashed, 7 evictions, redundancy from what was lifelong employment, severe health concerns, the care and loss of too many loved ones, and closure of several businesses. And now it would seem on the day of our anniversary, the ultimate separation, as my husband takes the necessary steps forward, which, although devastating, will not only bring forth the next stage of our relationship, but transform our situation, full circle, with the hope of returning to a much needed external certainty in what has been a savage, unrelentless decade and a half. By getting back into a lorry, driving away all week, leaving us to face several hidden demons from scarcity to loneliness and gender roles as we dig deeper into what our sacred union means to us, what that will now look like, knowing we are supported no matter how it may feel or seem by the powerful transits available. All we can do is trust. Something we're all being encouraged to recognize and embrace as we are reminded of the beauty way with Thursday's upcoming supermoon in Aries. Preceded and even guided by Pluto going direct in Capricorn on the 11th of October, encouraging us to engage with the Devil card in the tarot for which this zodiac is related to. From now until its movement into Aquarius in November, this placement brings with it an end of an era that we will not see again until 2254, offering us the potential to break free from power struggles, ironically, in our own outdated ways of thinking. It is here the transformation, whether we want it or not, serves us in its intensity by applying all we have discovered to the more practical aspects of our own lives, with unrelenting focus and drive towards long-term career and physical-driven goals. Being a cardinal sign, Capricorn reminds us to take the lead in the light that we now must become as we prepare to enter the Virgo or Hermit energy of 2025. By sensing through the illusion of authority, especially our own, and the almost continuous universal nudges currently occurring. From here, we can realize the greater need for change in what has become a dangerous, controlled status quo that can only come from bringing the hidden to our awareness. Being at 29 degrees or anoretic, this position will demand attention, if it hasn't already, for those able to hear into the themes and almost repetitive collective blocks, particularly around money, control, power, and manipulation that are rising to the surface. Of course, despite it feeling heavy, there isn't the only one energy out there. Much like our world stage, there are many aspects available to remind us of the importance of reading between the lines. With Mercury now in Scorpio as of the 13th, our words will hold weight, so we must ensure our intentions are not only true, but based on internal rather than projected stories. We are also supported by Venus entering Sagittarius the same day as this hunter's moon, suggesting that we, rather than add heat to destructive flames, use this time to be creatively casual, curious, flirtatious even, to what may be. Beyond our own restrictive views as we become more flexible, holding space for the understandable fears by feeling them, remaining open to the change that they bring, and putting any metaphorical chips to bed. From here, we're being guided to step into our power, finding the resolution within our gifts and sharing them boldly with the world, offering an exciting potential, provided we can remain calm and manage our emotions, balancing ourselves between physical and spiritual needs, picking, not adding to any battles within which we have no impact, avoiding unnecessary torment, regaining often avoidable direction. As we rediscover the equally powerful and transformative harmony required to overcome any difficulties for the sacred right of manifestation that it is. Of course, within this comes the potential of bypassing, avoidance, excessive independence, and defensiveness, particularly from forced compromises. Being an Aries, with its patron Mars and itself both made of fire, we can expect powerful energy to play itself out. But by embracing the more mature masculinity of our own choices, particularly when it comes to roles and any inattention formed from assumptions, we can temper elected, narcissistic stubbornness for what it is, the reflected doubt and worry of underestimating the collective strength available. Emotional stability is key if we are to avoid burnout, ensuring that we see internal conflict for a deeper opportunity to examine our truest desires. As we remember, we don't always need to adapt. We can create our own reality. But this will take tolerance, empathy, and solidarity for and with all involved if we are to reflect this permission for others. Provided we can observe our mental sensitivities and need to communicate, we may see some unexpected cooperations, particularly with the Sun in Libra, bringing both patience and mercy to the forefront, not only in relationships but our own influence. In opening to this potential, anything could happen, but we must seek balance. Bridging our personal and public interests into a bolder leadership of our own heart-led success and happiness. Remembering it is in walking our path we truly inspire others, not dictating it. Having had a decade to lift each other up, this week we may be shown where we have fallen more into the shadow aspects of comparison and competition, with the perfectly timed connection between Jupiter and Chiron occurring. And it is in this available healing the abundance we seek will be found, as we recognize self-confidence for the wisdom it's always been. By receiving compliments, taking any credit earned, engaging in more sustainable conversations, we not only match the energy of work put in, but recognize and more importantly create from our self-worth, rather than remain powerless in situations that have outlived our attention, no matter how comfortable. Underneath it all, there are new doors opening to exciting commitments and partnerships as we embrace the grace and beauty of chaos by realizing who we can rely on and trust, ourselves and timing included. There is a difference between being in the flow and impatience that is individual to us all. This can only be found through the necessary self-assertion and compromise of this Aries-Libra axis, meaning we must meet our own needs without ignoring those of others through autonomous companionability. By simply examining how we honor ourselves in our closest relationships, as we realize how brave, determined, and resourceful we can be, particularly with our physical skills and ability to allow our emotions to take decisive action. Now is the end of a beginning and the beginning of an end. Squaring Mars in Cancer, it isn't about rushing or jumping ahead to worst case scenarios. In fact, we are being encouraged to look at how disempowering this really is, not only on the individual, but towards a greater collective vision. Instead, in finding constructive outlets for any frustration, this potentially violent energy has the possibility of growing something beautiful. Self-expression, beyond appreciation to authenticity, minus already escalating drama, of which there will be more than enough to go around, we could find ourselves held in the celebration of our light, experiences, and uniqueness, rather than the repressive desire to conform or control other opinions, as we lead into what is a monumental turning point for us all, right before the sun enters Scorpio at the end of the month. Placed in the third decan, linked to the Four of Wands in the Tarot, this vulnerable, at times awkward supermoon needs careful and strategic emotional voicing for it to be effective. Which, if we can confront our fears, follow hunches, and witness the release of old patterns, can serve up some much needed stability, harmony, and fulfillment of more solid foundational steps forward. Occurring on the 17th of October in the UK, we are being offered the central frequencies of the Wheel of Fortune, supported by strength not only either side, but in total, highlighting the real change being internal harmony and the ability to connect to the divine timing of our own emotional wisdom. Reaching its peak at 12:27, it is the vibration of the Hanged Man, Empress, High Priestess, Justice, Wheel of Fortune, Magician, and Fool overall that continues to dictate the only narrative worth reading to each of us. A tale truly as old as time, that the only change ever required is in how we see the beauty of our path, and from here the ability to create it. May we all find some certainty, no matter how small, in the relationships we continue to form, our own included. In deepest munay, I ask you now, how sure are you? You know where I am. Take care, Kirsty.